stuck in a river. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these sunken eyes and learn to see all your life. You were only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird singing in the dark of night. Blackbird singing in the dark of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly all your life. Missed it. You were only waiting for this moment to be free.
Morning, Dave.
Everybody straight in today. I haven't put a waiting room, so you could go straight in.
Right.
How about that?
Fabulous.
You say, did you do that test on the link that I sent you?
I did. It was brilliant. Yes, thank you.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, really good.
All those months and sort of weeks that I was having, trying to explain, especially Terry, wasn't it? And all you had to do was give him that link and say, click here, and he'll tell you what's wrong.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I had, there was nobody apart from my daughter who wasn't available who could actually link up with me because everybody else is, dinosaurish and frustrating.
Well,
I'm just looking at the moment. I can't see the at the bottom it says participants do.
yeah,
But I can usually put on everybody that's there.
View gallery.
Yeah, I can't see the gallery.
If you click on the one that says participants,
Yes.
that'll tell you, that'll do it.
No, it just tells me the names. It doesn't show me the pictures.
You need to go where it says view and then go gallery view.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
They're all
Yeah. Oh, yes, that's brilliant. Lovely. Thank you. Brilliant.
It's scaring everyone. There's no waiting room today. So everyone, I thought, oh, I've got a waiting room for it.
Morning.
Morning.
Everybody all right?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, fine, thanks.
Just chewing the cud over how clever Zoom were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got no. Oh, there you are, Chris. Can see you.
Yes.
Hi.
Late to the party as always. My tablet decided to do an update, and I thought it was never going to finish on time.
That's what happened to me a while ago, and I think I missed it in the end because it went on for so long.
Yeah. No. Anyway,
is our new lady, person.
press on.
About to find
Hello,
out.
hello. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hey, Bridget.
Hi.
Hi, this is Shanaz here.
Hi.
Nice to meet you, Dave. Is that Dave? Hi, Dave.
Yeah.
Hi, Dave. Nice to meet you. I've been looking forward to this art session.
We'll soon stop that.
Morning, Shanaz.
Morning.
Morning.
Me?
Oh, there you are.
There.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you all. I had a look at the website, and I see most of you are based around Dorset.
Yeah,
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, and I was there in the beginning of August, and I just love the place.
Where are you now?
I'm in London.
You're in London.
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting national now, Dave.
Yeah.
We visited Poole.
Oh yeah.
Bournemouth I have been before, but Poole and Corfe Castle.
Yep.
Yeah. Castle. Where else?
That's the Jurassic Coast.
Yeah, and Durdledore and Lulleth Cove. Yeah,
Right.
those places. Yeah,
That's
We're very
more-
lucky.
yeah,
more places than I
Yeah.
have, and I live here.
yeah. Little Parkstone workshops. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lovely place. Poole is really beautiful.
Well, that's how we started. Was in Parkstone.
Mhm.
Then this pandemic thing came along, and so we've expanded our horizons, just keep things going and that.
Yeah.
In actual fact, I speak for myself, but I find it better. It's
Yeah.
more. It's
We
more
don't find it
fresh.
very parking.
In what ways do you find it better?
Well, the focus is better because we interact on subjects and techniques and all the rest of it.
Mhm.
And I'm sort of piggy in the middle, the sort of lead artist saying do this, do that. Whereas before, it was everyone comes into the hall, into our room at the church where we were, and everyone sort of not huddles and does their own thing, but they are doing their own thing, and I just sort of advising, helping, you know, I wouldn't do that for us. Why don't you try, you know, that sort of thing. And but now there's more pressure on me than there was before, because I'm having to make the mistakes so that you guys don't have to. live on air.
That doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I've also found, you know, that during I teach, so I teach in a school like 3 days a week, and the other 2 days I run my own online tuition platform.
Brilliant.
So when the pandemic hit, from school we went online, and because I was teaching online before that anyway, it wasn't that much of a change, but yeah, I found with the students, a lot of the students who are in school full time, some of them found the online sessions better, but some of them were, of course, happy to be back in school as well.
Well, the plan is was to start up at the church again in this September, but things aren't really changing much, really. And
yeah,
a lot of us are vulnerable, a bit older.
yeah,
So and the church isn't like what I've said before, is a bit open. There's no sort of, you can't come in here if you've got, you know,
yeah,
there's no sort of, not policing, but there's a lot of people, homeless people, you know, that may not be as cautious as we are.
you just have to be.
It's great if you can have the room, you know, and it's not locked down, but people can't just waltz in and out ad hoc. So but Stephen, who was one of our guys, so he's got a few learning difficulties and things. He keeps ringing me up, when we going back, David, when we going back. And so what I'm doing at the moment with him is I did it yesterday. I prepared 4 sheets of white card, put some watercolor, what's that stuff called? Hang on. This is only a temporary loss of memory, or I thought it was, because I couldn't remember what it was called yesterday. It's called watercolor. I was going to call it down, but it's not, it's ground. It's part of the tutorial that starts now. But this stuff is really great because you buy it in a little tub like that, and it doesn't seem much, but it does last a long time. Dip your brush in the water, then in this, and whatever surface you coat with it, just give it a couple of quick coats, it becomes receptive to watercolors. So
Oh.
I don't know, I've never tried it, but you can, if you were going to paint watercolor on wood, or I don't know about china or glass, but certainly non-porous substrates, you can use this stuff, canvas. I reckon it will do canvas really well.
Yeah.
Give it a few coats of that. And so anyway, I've been using this stuff, coated two sheets of A4, A3 board, both sides. So he's got a double-sided thing. And then what I'll do is I'll sketch the subject on each side, so they're double-sided, and send him the reference image and some rough notes, and tell him to get, and he'll have four pictures to get on with, because he's, oh, I miss my art, I'm missing my art. And he's no good on YouTube. I don't think it's technologies is quite his forte. I'm looking forward to that. But so keep the thing going. Has Anne and Gordon come in today? Do you know?
No, they're away, but they say to say hello.
Oh, right.
They're in Lymington actually.
Oh, it's not far.
They're camping. Yeah. Hopefully back for next week.
Right.
But
What about
yes,
Carol? Have you heard from Carol? Is she coming, or that she's moving perhaps?
It doesn't really
Um,
matter, because I've taken the waiting room off. So I figure, who are we? If anybody wants to gate crash, let them come in. You get. I mean, I've been on some Zoom groups where the astronomy things, and you do get the odd idiot that comes in that's gate crash somehow. I don't know. Obviously, if they get the link and they start doing silly things, but you just get rid of them, ban them, don't you? So it only takes a few seconds.
no Bridget either.
I haven't heard from Brigitte. As I say, Sienna's, we're international, because Brigitte is from Belgium.
Oh, okay.
And she was here, was it last week? I think she might be doing every other week. She was there last week. She said, was it? My English, they were sort of, you're very quiet, Brigitte. So my English isn't too good. And of course, your English is a damn sight better than our French. Carry on, She did quite well.
Yeah.
Just to recap, last week's picture, I haven't touched mine. If you watch the video, it's pretty much the same now as it was when I finished. Where is it? It won't fun.
I had a look at the gallery this morning. There's some lovely Diana doors.
I'll switch cameras, so just briefly. There. That woman's been looking at me. I put her on the easel over there. She's been staring at me all week. And I think every so often you sort of look round and you think, oh, that I really like that. But I have got plans to do it. You can see where I put the green on the background as well to what's the word? It's a bit of experiment really, because complementary colors sort of they work together, don't they? That's why they're called complementaries. So the opposite, I don't know why I thought that the background had a reddish tone to it. So red, the complementary is green, isn't it? So the opposite on the color wheel. I'm moving my hands here. No one can see. I've just drawn a wheel, but yeah. Who did? Hang on. This is just quickly. Who did one? Anne did one. Let me. Carol did. Yeah, Carol did one. Ooh, it's quick share. You do learn by these things. That was Carol. Is that Carol's? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Everyone's, but the classic thing about doing portraits is the likeness is irrelevant. I read all the books on it, and they all keep coming up and saying it's about you're painting a figure, a person. It doesn't matter about, they don't have to be exact and all the rest of it. It will gradually come, that sort of thing. Every so often you hit a lucky one. There was Chris's. It's a bit of a fashion parade, isn't it?
Yeah.
I find that really difficult.
It looks great on the website. I put it on earlier on today, actually, in the little galleries we got, and because it's acrylic and not watercolor, obviously it's quite
Stand out.
stand out quite a lot. Almost like a post. It reminds me of a postage stamp, you know, sort of compared to the watercolors, and whoosh, great
No,
fun.
I
think
didn't like that one.
Anne sent one in as well. That was the Barbie doll one. That's her with her husband. I think Anne's at the front. Hang on. There. Anne sent that in last Tuesday afternoon, I think it was. Absolutely no messing about with that girl.
Yeah,
That worked.
she was sat in her caravan doing that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Even that's the beauty of this art lark, isn't it? Doesn't
Yes.
matter where you are. You don't. All you need's a scrap of paper, a pencil, a brush if you want, and a little travel pack of watercolors. They don't take much. So that's the beauty of them. Today's subject, I nicked. Well, I didn't steal it. I'll give credit to the image, but I looked. It was on. Let me share that. Click tab. Share the screen. Dave, which one? I've got two. Oh, that one I did. Share. Yeah. I was flicking through a site where I might sell some of my work. Well, some of Melanie's little dragons that she does, and that I want to craft type work. She's got an Etsy store and things like that, but I want to expand it in the New Year's because she does really lovely. And it's these creatures, dragons, and all kinds of things. But this came up on the Etsy site, I think it was, and I thought, hey,
sorry.
I thought it was one of my pictures. I thought, oh, is that one of mine?
Yeah,
because it's very often I paint that all the time. But I think she's worked really hard on some of the elements and the sky. And I thought, well, everyone's always on about skies. Maybe we should just have a go at that. I've got a funny feeling I've only stretched not finished paper, so I think I'll be pushed to copy that or to get that same smoothness, because they're not finished. You've got those little lumps and bumps, and there's a tendency to the water go in the recesses, and you will, to get that really smooth sky is a bit awkward. Well, I don't think it matters anyway. I thought it was more about the technique and having a bit of fun. What colors do you reckon? In my mind, my method is, I think, raw sienna, not raw sienna, was it Naples yellow, hint, but there is a hint. I think look on reflection, looking at it, there's probably raw sienna rather than Naples yellow, but I like Naples yellow because it's just the way it's part of my thing, so I'll probably use that. The other colors, what I did notice, and looking at it again now, the cerulean blue is the normal go-to blue for those lovely summery light fluffy skies that we get. But looking at it, I don't think that blue on the right over here is cerulean. I got a funny feeling that it's whole bean horizon blue, which is a distinct, really light blue. And up here at the top, there might be a hint of cobalt blue as well. But the key thing is it's a cerulean type blue, a very light blue. And mixing that with some people have Alzerian crimson, but as you know, I've veered off onto rose madder these days. So the plan is to mix the blue with the rose madder, or if you've got Alzerian, you'll get that shadowy cloud effect. So I'm talking through in my head what I'm likely to do and muck up in a minute. The figures, well, they're not as good as you think. I was looking at them, or as good as I initially thought. And if I can, I'll zoom in. They're a bit, in my mind, they're a bit stumpy. It's supposed to be 8 heads in a body, or somewhere like that. They look a bit out of proportion. Doesn't matter. The dog is always an issue. They're hard. We'll have a laugh with that. Then I was looking at it and I couldn't, unless you can see where the dark shape of the figures stop, there's a sort of reflective bit. And they're not part of the body. At first I thought, oh look, they've all got shorts on, but it's not, it's reflection. So I think we'll try and bear that in mind, and it's still a nice picture. We shouldn't need to spend, well, once you get competent, you should be able to knock one of those out in 15 minutes.
Last famous words.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always say that.
So we're finishing early today.
No, because I stretched 2 sheets, one on each side of the paper, with a view in mind of saying, well, I might see how it plans out, and they always go wonky, as you know, or something happens and somebody will say something. Carol's not here to say it today, but somebody invariably says something, and I thought, we'll just do it. And I'll end up whacking a load of strange colour on there and having to wash it off in the bath later. The reflection, the sand, I don't know what colour to use. I like using raw sienna, burnt sienna, but a lot of people use raw sienna, but I'm not that keen. It doesn't work for me. And I did you look on the website where I put a little menu item, class notes?
Yeah.
I couldn't think of a better title. It sounded a bit silly, but in there I put a photo of the palette that I'm currently using and some notes on the colors as well. I did send a link out, but there's a photograph of the little palette that I use and some arrows saying what the colors were, and I also put some links there where you can get them. Would have been a good idea to take note of it myself, because I ordered I ordered some of the white paint that I've been using on the portraits. And when it turned out, well, as I checked the order, it turned out I bought 3 tubes of grey. Yuck, I'm not using grey. Grey is burnt sienna and blue, or, you know, a red and a blue gives you sort of grey colours. All I wanted was the white for when we're doing the portraits. Anyway, let's we off. Oh, crikey, look at the time. I've been waffling. Sorry, girls. Well, it's all relevant, isn't it? Change my. I might go quiet because I want to put the little other microphone on. I've changed the camera. If I do that, everyone gets a doodah. And I'm going to change the microphone and I'll go quiet for a couple of minutes, well, a few seconds, while I run across the other side of the room.
Studio.
My room is this. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
All coming through loud and clear, Commander. Mission control. The final. Oh dear. Find the board. Oh, cables fly everywhere. Often watch other people do this and think, how do they do it so neat and tidy? And there's me, I'm all over the place. Nature of the beast, I think. My room is always a mess, but at the moment it's extraordinarily messy. I had the brilliant brainwave of going up in the loft to get some. I can't remember what it was I was after now. Oh, my daughter once wanted a Polaroid camera that she must have known that I had for her kids to do a show thing at school. And I thought, oh, I've probably got one in the loft. I didn't. It wasn't in the loft, but there were about a whole load of Star Wars toys and things I collected over the years. And I decided I wanted to bring them down and sort it out. Oh my God, boxes of stuff here now. And the Polaroid camera, Melanie had put it in a little cupboard and she knew exactly where it was. Oh, girls, I don't know. Hey, yeah, I did a little tester earlier to see what would come up, and using the colours. It's not far away, as I say, but being a not finish, you're always going to get a slight not finish. bumpy ride. Oh, hang about. We might be in luck here. I've got a funny. No, it's not. The paper is quite smooth, so give it a go. Right, brushes. It's not the same, is it? No Carol. Telling me what brush I should have, or use the mop.
Oh, it looks like she's trying to get in, Carol.
Morning, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Look, I've
Right.
only just come to say hello. I've got a lot
Oh, well
going
done.
on this.
Oh,
I've got a lot going on this morning. Don't know whether
Well
I'm coming or going. Hang on. So I'll just say
What are you
hello
doing
and goodbye, and I'll see what.
Hi, Carol.
All right then. Okay. Have a
Okay.
lovely morning. Have a lovely
Yeah,
morning.
you
Okay.
take
I'll speak to you
care.
soon. Yeah.
Take
Bye.
care.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye, Carol.
Oh, that was
Bye.
good.
Bye.
I just mentioned her name and she turned up.
Ah, I can hear you.
Oh.
Ah.
Oh,
You'll watch the video anyway, so I can't say anything too detrimental. Not that I would. There's my
She's
palette.
gone.
I haven't touched it since last week. It's becoming really soft and pastel-y from times gone by. But I have my backup palette is still the St. Petersburg set. But these have started to go a bit dry now. They're still fairly sticky. So if you get stuck for a color or you want something bright, I know where to reach. But I still buy the top-up tubes from St. Petersburg. Got loads of them. That's the color that I was talking about a few minutes ago. It's a Holbein Horizon Blue. It's their number W104. I'd recommend if you really like doing those really nice skies, to buy a tube of that. It ain't cheap. It's, you know, it's only a little one of the small tubes, 15 mil, whatever it was, not even that. But you don't need a lot of it. You'll see when I do it with the other color is Naples yellow. The idea between Naples yellow and blue tend not to make green, but this one little tube like that should last you for ages, because all I tend to do is where I stretch the paper on the edge, I use it as a palette, as you know. I'll just put look, that's not even a half a pinky fingernails, but that's 10 times more than, well, 100 times more than I'd need for this picture, because it's not like a watercolor. It's more of a like a gouache. It's quite, the binder in it is fairly opaque. I have got a copy of the image here, but I think my tip would be don't try to follow it. Decide on the colors, which is why I was talking about it earlier, what sort of colors you think you want to involve in the sky, and just stick with that. And because you can't plan it, it just, the time you put the water on and squish it around to actually emulate the sky is pretty near, well, I was going to say impossible, but it isn't, but it's not logical. Dollop of water, use the I'm being cautious here because where I've put that Naples yellow, I've done it in the past, if you remember. Put the clean water brush in it and got a nice yellow sky before I even started anything. So it does have its pitfalls. Now I've made it quite wet. The paper I'm using is an Arches one. Now I've looked at it. Brush. So no, hardly any on there. It's all water. Shall I zoom out a bit? Hang on. Is that better? You can at least see. As I say, here I've just, that's the Naples yellow. It's much too much there. And I like to come in from the diagonals anyway. I'm deliberately not, I'm putting a bit more on so that it comes across a bit brighter on this video. I've got no fear. Cerulean blue, I've got plenty of that here. I could do a test on the side. If you add cerulean blue to the yellow that's there, it doesn't go green. It goes a sort of muted grey colour. I've put it on the paper now, but which is probably going to mute all my colours. I tend to like coming in from the diagonals, as you recall, when I've done these skies in the past. And use your mop if you want, if you've got one. Just done it again. But the yellow, I'm always conscious that it's too much. You only need a smidgen of it and it takes over the whole picture. But the I think a bit of a warm-up one, this one on it. If you where your horizon is, you can always just take a bit of tissue, just wipe off some of that water. That'll stop it running down too much. And a bit of the rose madder, or if I was here in crimson, just drop it in. Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm at about a 35-degree angle here, so it's definitely going to run that way. But you can always tease your paper away. But I've got at the moment I'm landscape, but sometimes it's an idea to just tilt the paper portrait. Well, I'll squish it around while the water's there and it's doing its job. I did it. Naples yellow. Use. I was very calm there. Didn't swear. I didn't cuss. I just thought.
Just gasped.
Well, I just knew that I was going to do it. Well, I had a feeling. Makes sense. This is watercolor at its finest. Having fun with watercolor. If you've got any grey in your palette, like I've got in there from previous experience, you can drop that in as well. The other, once things have settled down, tilt my board now. Just going to turn it up the other way. I don't want it all running one way. Come on, do your work. There's still plenty of moisture in there anyway. Don't like the grey didn't really work that well. Let me just tilt it up vertical. Let it wish. Sometimes there's no way around it to get the paint to run. You need to hold it at a really cute angle. I think I'll sit down for this bit. I've got a rigger and a soft brush. I don't know what it is. It says it's sable. I didn't buy it. Pure sable. I've pinched that off for someone. But on the side of my thing, I've got a little dab of the Alizarin Crimson Rose Madder and a dab of the blue, cerulean blue. So I'm just going to use. Oh, that was interesting. But if I mix that in with where the two meet, I'll get that nice purpley grey colour. And I can just tease in some, softly just put in some cloudy area or some shady areas, tease them in. That one's drying back quite nicely at the top. But while it's this wet, you can start to, it's a bit, painting the sky is similar to the sea. You've got to look at your base wash
and start finding, in the sea, you'd be finding waves, or the, you know, the tops of waves and that. In here, you're finding clouds. Great fun. If your paper starts to dry too much, or you feel that you're getting it all run back, just use your atomizer if you've got one, or get one, and just sort of rehydrate it. Some of the run backs I don't mind. A lot of people leave them on purpose. They love them. I'm not so keen. They're not the reason that we started it. I want those nice, soft, fluffy areas. And this is the boring bit, really, because all you can do is, what's the word? Tinkering? Dithering? I don't know. Until you get to a stage where you think, I'm not improving anything now. We haven't finished yet either. There's more involved. But I've deliberately put in more of the shadowy underneath the clouds mix that I put on the side here at the base, trying where it's meeting the sea. I had a plan for that as well. Gradually build it up. One thing I haven't done or addressed is adding any more blue in, but there's nothing, I'm doing it now. There's a little bit of blue, cerulean blue at the top of there. Who needs a palette? I'll just use a piece of paper. And why not? Might need a little top up there. You can always add patches of blue. But while the paper is really soaking wet, it's a good time to do it. You didn't ask about my little baby, Chris.
Well, I was waiting for you.
I thought we might have seen him.
I thought you might have changed the subject of the day.
Yeah.
Pauline said to me the other day, "Oh, don't suppose you'll be doing any painting now then? That's the end of it." I forgot what it's like having a little puppy. Yeah, it's
I saw his mum this morning out for a walk.
yeah.
Yeah, I saw them this morning. He said you
better,
sent a little video.
You better explain what we're on about, Chris.
Puppy, I thought it was a real baby you were talking about.
A puppy.
What breed is it?
Now I've got to say this properly. A Shih Tzu. Or if you're
Shih
Chinese,
Tzu.
Shih Tzu.
Shih Tzu, yeah?
It's a
Yeah,
Shih Tzu.
but it's two
You've got to say it.
words. I went round to the grandchildren's to drop this Polaroid camera that I was on about on the week, and they said, Granddad, you got a new puppy, new dog. What is it? And I said, it's a Shih Tzu. Oh, that started it then. Next I've got 4 little kids running around the house laughing their heads off because the word shit was involved, you know, or shit it was sounds like. I last as I retreated down the drive, I heard Mum say, "Stop doing that." It's not. So hasty retreat.
We have a little our local park, so we
Yeah?
see lots of dogs, and there's a Shih Tzu that I see a lot. It's cute.
They are. That is the word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dead cute.
Fluffball.
Yeah.
Yes.
for a-
Yeah, I
it's-
was so surprised when you said that you were getting a puppy from one of my neighbours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I sussed it out because it's over at Poole, which is what, for me, it's a major out, you know, it's an hour's drive. Time I get lost and one thing and another. From Christchurch, it's not as, so I'm just trying to put in a line, an horizon line, which I'm obliquely making a mess of. What do I normally say? Get a piece of card, any old bit of card. Oh, here we go. Piece of Whittington Castle. I'm just gonna put it there and just use it to act as a some sort of a line. Maybe a bit more. Go down a bit. Give myself a bit of space. I think the that Sable's lovely hair, but it is a bit weak.
Soft. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're trying to draw a fine line, and you still need a bit of more shadow here, bit of a darker color. Yeah, you spend all those money on those posh palettes, and what do I use? The side of the paper. Whereabouts in London do you live?
Northwest near
I only know Watford.
Barnet. Do you know Barnet?
Yeah,
Yeah.
quite nice there.
Yeah, it is. You've got a lot of open space with the
Film.
heath,
Yeah,
nice parks. Yeah, it's but you know, you still, it's not like open, completely open. So you have to go out, like for example, for the Chiltern Hills, you need to, it'll take about half an hour, 40 minutes on the North Circular.
that's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, that's not too bad. Chiltern Hills, but to go to Surrey, it will take 2 hours. Where else can you go? Windsor, it will take about an hour to get there to Windsor. Yeah. So it's not, but if you want the beach, that's too far away. South End will take about an hour and a half. Yeah.
This paper I'm using, it's still, that was only what, I don't know, a good mop full of water, but it's still fairly damp, and I can use my tissue to just tease bits off. Try and put some highlights. I'm just where it is a bit damp, or when you look at it yourself, you think, oh, that. Usually for me, it's usually where I put the yellow, the Naples yellow. I usually look at it and think, no, I don't want it. It feels like a stain. I don't know. It doesn't have that same. I don't know. It draws my eye to it, which I don't want to do. So I'll invariably take it out or try and lift it off. But it's not Naples yellow. I don't think it's high staining. So later on, when you look at it, reflect back on it, you can take, you can clean brush and water and just lift it off a bit. But over this side, there's a lovely bit where it's the yellow sort of blended in really well. This bit over here is too much blue where I came in, but that'd be okay. We'll put it in the mount. It'll go if I decide to frame it. Right, so I'm just taking that horizon and pushing it up a bit if I can. These are decisions that you have to sort of gauge for yourselves really as you look at it. But the basic workflow is pretty much like that. Got plenty of time, haven't we? So what I'll do, I'll leave that one to settle. Sounds funny. Like any recipe, isn't it? You just sort of put the dough in the fridge to rest for a minute, or while you get on and do the other part. So a bit of stain there. I'm just in the mood, so I'm gonna what am I gonna do? Lick the brush? No. I'm gonna turn this over. I just pinched a bit of Naples yellow off the side. Look at it, it's everywhere. Just not even a half a brush full. And this time I'm going to go a bit looser. I'm just going to, I don't know, have a bit more fun. So, same thing, got a mop full, perhaps a nice mop full of water. I'm at 35-degree angle. I've discovered that dog likes green tea. I went out in the garden. Well, I took it out for a wee and one thing and another, and I opened my greenhouse up, but it's got zips, so I had to on the door and put the tea down on the floor. It was still quite hot. I turned around and the dog's there, like they do. I thought, wow, that's a good sign. If Mel had seen me doing that, I'd have got a right. You're not supposed to feed dogs tea. Everything's taboo, isn't it? It's not tea.
Loves a cup of tea.
Hang on, I'm going to get a bit more yellow this time. It's on the other side of the board. There you go. Don't mess about. No, that's yellow. And then some nice. What I could do, 2 secs, just to show the difference on this side. This is that horizon blue. Even there's enough there. I can't get it out of the tube, small enough. There's enough there for about 10 pictures. Now you can see the different. Look at the difference in that. The difference in that blue is
almost a turquoise, isn't it?
It's very different blue. So I did try on the one the other side to add a little bit of green when no one was looking. I put my brush in the green on my palette, which is next to the blue. I dipped it in there and mixed it up with the cerulean, and it kind of went that light green. So this much paler blue. You can see if I put a lot on, the difference in colour is quite distinct. But 2 blues in a picture, cobalt and ultramarine. I never use ultramarine on its own. I stopped doing that years ago, even though a lot of the books tell you to use ultramarine in the sky. Don't. Not on its own. Mix it with something else. When it's now we're nice and wet, now we can introduce a bit of the shadow, which is Alzerian crimson, or in my case, rose madder. Just drop some of that in. If you want it pinkier. I'm using this mop for the whole lot this time. They're great brushes. Rosemary & Co. Handmade. I bought this one about a year ago, I think. And it's not touch wood, it's not Mr. B. There's no hairs coming out or anything. Tilted up. Oh, look at the amount of water there. a bit of fun, that is. But the thing about these skies, they change as it's all drying off, and the tones it all sort of blends or not blends, and you suddenly look at it and see parts that need a little bit of extra help, or you can drop in. But I strongly recommend starting like I do from the diagonals. So even though it's soaking wet, you can. I'm just messing about now, but just showing what I'm doing, what I'm explaining. If you come in from these two diagonals, later on, when you put your forest, tree, beach, whatever it is, you'll find that the focus, it draws the eye in better. If you do it flat, it doesn't work. Well, I don't think it does. I have used up most of that blue that was there on the side, so. But the beauty of it is they dry so interesting shapes. And I'll say, if you tilt the paper at a different angle, you can get it to flow. Amazing, isn't it? I used to spend most of my days having skies. I'd have a sky sort of session in the morning and do perhaps a bit stronger than these, but just do a load of different skies and then hang them out with clothes pegs on the washing line to dry off so that they're at a sort of a wonky angle. And then the next day, I must have told you this, some of you guys before, that then I'd go up the beach with just, I don't know, 8 or 9 dry sheets of paper with just skies on them. And I could sit at Mudderford Quay and put all the rest in, put the buildings, the beach, the boats, everything else, and I didn't have to worry about the sky. And I used to tease, but there is an element of truth that the reason I started to do that, because I read somewhere that that's what Turner did. And I thought, well, in great company there, if my Lord Turner can do it, then if he painted his skies and then added the subject in, that makes a lot of sense to me. One colour I'm going to add now is a bit of burnt sienna. Into that, I've got the cerulean blue, the red that I'm using, rose madder, and I've added a little bit of burnt sienna. So what am I trying to achieve here? Even more of a grey tone. Just use the rigger and slap it in, see what happens. Just think clouds. Don't know if it's the rubbish side of the paper, but it's definitely mottly compared to the other one, to the other side. When in doubt, use a bigger brush. Soften down. Can even warms it up as well. Raw sienna will work as well. Just so happens I haven't got any in this palette. It's a big pinch yourself moment when you keep buying paint, because the only colours you really need are red, blue and yellow. So anything else is just a bit of icing on the cake, really. But this can go on for a while. You will find, like, it's the same when you're doing doing the water on the seascapes, you'll find that you'll get nice passages, and then see to steer clear of those. There's a nice one coming here. There's a little, the cloud is all dribbling down, and the solution more often than not is just clean water and just put it underneath, soften down underneath and let it drain down. I'd like to get a nicer grey colour for the base here. Well, the horizon. We're saying that, or I'm assuming that the horizon's going to be sort of, I don't know, what's that, third up from the bottom, even though it doesn't look much like it at the moment because there's a big pool of colour at the bottom. But I'm just going to keep dribbling in some of this grey colour over here. But as long as you stick with the my old favourite of 3 colours is fine. If you mix 3 colours, you'll get away and it won't go to mud. Just stick with that and you'll be okay. If you start adding this, I've got a bit of burnt sienna, the red and some blue. That'll give me a nice shadowy grey colour. Got a lovely little run back going on here. But as I say, this is definitely, ooh, that was a bit strong. A bit more blue. And a bit of the burnt sienna. Gives me that blend of grey. Might be a bit darker. If it goes one way, then add some more red or more blue, whichever one you want. And it will tone it down to the shade or a nicer shade. Got loads of different shades here, but I think the classic one is not to mix your colours like you do. It's not B&Q. You don't buy them in pots. That's why I like doing it on here, because I've got quite a long space and I'm not mixing them together. They're just mixing themselves, blending in. There you go. But I say this is the duff side of the paper, so I know I'm getting lots of motley effects, but fortunately I'm not panicking because I'm watching it and I can see that it's slowly drying out. The exciting bit's going to be when I turn over in a minute and see what the other side looks like. Oh, if there's a deep intake of breath, you know that it's not quite what we expected. There's some old friends coming out here because we've been doing these portraits. I've been using these two. Well, every time you do a portrait, I just stick with these two oil brushes, evergreen. But today I've got some of these Terry Harrison ones that I haven't used for a while. Quite enjoying this. See if I can put a line across here while I'm talking. Oh, missed it. All right. Just don't think about what you're doing and it will turn out all right. Maybe not.
You need your piece of card out.
It'll be all right. I'll straighten it out loud at some point. Just push it up a bit. All you need really is to make to rest your arm on something straight and just keep going. How wonky is that? No, it's not wonky, it's the paper, it's bent. It's cockled, making it look worse than it is. And the other
Dragging
thing,
fingers in the paint.
yeah, the other thing you can do is balance it up by putting the Isle of Wight. And that's on one side, like there is on the sort of reference image. But this is starting to dry out, but you can see there's loads of the paper sort of, yeah, little bobbles on the paper that they're slowly drying out. I very often over the years I've said, people say, oh, I love your skies, how do you do that? And I always say, well, it's a one shot process. You can't, you got to do it now. But as the years have gone by, I've reneged on that, and I'll put a little bit extra cloud distant dullness in here. You can see how wet it is. It's I can still add even more. But there's only 3 colors involved, which is why I've done that deliberately, because I don't want to, I was going to say muddy the waters, but it does, it gives a cleaner sky. Another time next time if someone reminds me, we'll do, instead of Naples jelly, we'll do more raw sienna. That works quite well as well. That'll give you the same glow, if you like, a nice glow. But even then, it'll be raw sienna, Algerian crimson, and blue. Say blue holistically, because it could be a blend of, if you use ultramarine, add cobalt blue within it. So you'll have bits of the sky that are just cobalt blue, quite a nice light wash of cobalt, and the other parts, to make it get that contrast and difference, cobalt with a little bit of ultramarine in it. But ultramarine on its own is naff. My son works in London.
Yeah.
Yeah, Holland Park.
Oh yes, I was there the other day. It's a lovely place.
Yeah, bit posh, isn't it?
Yeah. It's, Shepherd's Bush and Holland Park, they're close together. So Holland Park, I just met up with a friend, and they have a nice park there. The Japanese, the Kyoto Gardens. It's got a nice, it's called the Orangery. Lots of hedges and, like a Monet style garden. And then they have some murals as well, with like how, 19th century ladies with parasols, walking around in the garden. There's large murals.
Sort of bit of half a sixpence, Tommy Steele, and
they commissioned somebody in the 1990s to do those murals.
Oh wow!
So that was interesting.
They got flooded out a few weeks back.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I know. David's, he runs the house, one of the houses there for his billionaire boss, and he sent me some pictures and all this. I don't know how much it was worth, but the garden and where it went into the house, all this water was like everywhere. They've only just spent £50,000 getting it retiled or something.
Oh gosh.
Oh dear, I'm so disappointed for them. What I've done is I've put a little bit of on this one. I'm going to do it on the other one now. A little bit of blue, So it looks like there's, oh, naughty David, water reflection before we put any sand or anything in. But as I say, this one's a bit of a rogue picture. It needs to dry off nicely. But what I was saying earlier, I always that I've reneged on this statement that that doing the sky is a one-hit process. I've just lately, well, for quite a while actually, if it dries later, or like I'll look at it tomorrow, or whatever, I will spray it and then add some more shadows in. Just to give it more information, more depth, because it's watercolors, and they do dry. You get, when it dries back, you get some remarkable things. There's something going on here. There's like a little white area drying back there. I'm not worried about the horizon. I'll just put a line in for the sake of it, really. I can fix that at any time, but it's still damp enough just to use the corner of the tissue just to add a few highlights. Could be clouds. Well, they've got to be, haven't they? But I mean, you know, just different. But even now, when you do, even when I'm doing this now, I'll tissue, if I tissue a piece out over this side and introduce some variation, there'll be a part of the picture, it'll have an effect. I keep saying this, on another part of the picture. So you'd need, or there'll be a tendency to want to do something over the other side to balance it up, because it will, I don't know, one side of the picture will feel heavier than the other, so be aware of that. I think I could just, while it's still damp, I'm just going to add a bit more of the tissue bits. I suppose in a way, where we live, if we go down to Avon Beach or Muddyford Quay and look across to the Isle of Wight, across the bay, even if you're at Bournemouth and you look out across, you can watch the storm going across the horizon, or the variation of the clouds. Like the Isle of Wight will be over here, and it'll be, you think, oh crikey, look at it, it must be pouring with rain over there. And over the other side, you can see it's either just clearing or about to get even worse. Great fun. Like, so I tend to be, I think it's in my mind now forever, that sort of impression. But I'm doing it now. It's dry. It's fairly dry around here, but I'm looking at it thinking, if I add a little bit of, I'm drawn to the clouds going horizontal. You know, you get sunsets or sunrise, and the clouds are always, you get that sort of streak of in a line going across. I don't know why. It seems to make a lot of sense to me. But you can see where I've lifted that off over that side. I've now gone over here, and I'm just picking up little bits of blue and dropping them in to balance it, because it's good, but it isn't. It's taken something off the other side. So constant one. I've got a new subject coming up, because I've been, yeah, don't laugh. I've been going on about, if you watch any of the videos and things, I've been waffling on about value, looking at, especially in the portraits, value shapes and things like that. So coming up, I'm going to have to do a photo, but we're going to do an exercise. It'll be a painting, proper painting, but within that exercise, will gain a little bit more knowledge or appreciation, really, of what the heck they're on about values.
Sorry,
Values.
that
It's really important for color. So I've got to set up a photo shoot to just stuff around the house that you make omelets out of. That you need to do it. But as you can see, the more you can carry on putting just a little, if you just look, I'll do it there. Put a little thin line of the shadow, this sort of, it's almost dirty paint, isn't it? Over that side. Then put a line on it and put your brush in clean water and just soften it down underneath, just gently. And you'll get those lovely, soft, fluffy, no, that's almost going into the distance now. You know, a sense that there's a line. So I think the the lesson learned here is that there is no end to it. The clay, you can carry on painting this forever. And even when you think you've finished like there, if you just with the clean brush, you can drag these little bits down. But I must admit, when you get a good sky, it's one of the most rewarding things you can do in watercolors. Edward Seago was a famous watercolorist. I think it's Edward Seago. Yeah, I think he was a sickly child, and he used to talk. He sort of used to paint, but because he couldn't sit up or anything. He was lying down most of the time. So he used to paint skies. Because all he could see was lying down, and his skies are pretty. I've got books here on it. The Queen's got loads of his pictures, or the Queen Mum used to buy them. Her mother. But he's a good guy. He used to paint skies. Start off like this, but then he'd introduce lamp black to give it that really dark clouds. I've never been brave enough to do that, and it tends to dry with that sort of run back feel, you know, the sort of hard line, which I don't particularly like. There's an area in my sky here that I'm pretty keen isn't going to dry back. So I'm going to add a real dark bit here. But even then it's not over, because we can just, using clean water on the brush, smooth it up, lift it off. But that, to me, that'll probably dry with some hard lines. But when it does, there's a big blob of water there. When it does, don't try and do anything to it now or straight away. If it does, just leave it to go bone dry tomorrow, and then just get your brush with clean water, and it's exactly the same procedure that I did on these little lines here. Just where the lines are, just put clean water and soften them down. You might find they will disappear, but you might find that you might need to just put a dab of tissue on at the same time, you know, in certain places. And you might be fortunate enough to look at them and think, oh, I quite like that. You'll get them, the sort of hard lines as they dry. Oh, I quite like that. One thing I will find, you will notice as you paint, when you do skies, that one's dried back a bit better now, is they reflect where you are and what the sky is like outside. I don't care what anyone's. I've been in here and think I'm going to paint a perfectly beautiful sunny day sky, and when I finished, it looked just like the one outside. Happens all the time. Goodness knows why, but that's dried back quite nicely. Well, it hasn't dried. It's still fairly damp. There's a lot of work there, but you can see the variations in blue and tones and all the rest of it. I think what I might do next, well, I'm going to need a little bit of blue. Oops. He who dares. There's a little bit of that horizon blue. Just to put a little. I forgot to put any watery reflections. So just think sky. I'll probably put the hairdryer on this. It's a lot more. That sort of beach. That needs to go dry now. Meantime, which side should we put an island on? Headland, something. I quite like that bit over there. It's got like a white feel to it. Decisions. Hey ho. Right, we don't do green. What we have got is some yellow. So got the yellow on. Let's make this area dry. We're stuck, Chrissy. We know we live where the Isle of Wight is. There's no way we can paint a headland on the, well, I'm left-handed as well, so I'm naturally drawn to it being on the right. Just a little bit of, this is cadmium yellow lemon. It's not lemon yellow, it's cadmium lemon yellow light or something like that. Let's see what happens with our sky blue. Perhaps it doesn't have to be anywhere, this picture. That's the beauty of it, isn't it? It's sort of meaningless in that respect. It's more about the effect. It's probably a bit longer. Add some more in. But I'm still really only using the same 3 colours. Even though I keep topping up the patch on the side here. While it's damp, we can drop in some exactly the same shadowy tones that we've got in the sky, just add them in here. Yeah. See what I'm saying? I'm taking my time and chatting at the same time, but if you wanted to make some money selling these sort of contemporary pictures, you really should be able to not whiz out a couple of these in about half an hour, easy. Big ones as well. Just a bigger brush, isn't it? More water and a bigger brush. But it's good exercise. Add some bits in here and there. Let that dry off. It's fairly dry now. What colour for sand? Carol's not here. Oh, flipping out. I can't ask her now. Carol, I miss you. What colour should we do for sand? I don't know. For the sake of Shanaz,
Yes.
burnt sienna
Yeah.
is,
Burnt sienna.
yeah.
Yeah.
but
Burnt sienna.
if you use burnt sienna
Yeah.
and a lot of water, so I'm going to do it anyway. I thought I'd wash my brush out, but I didn't. Still bit in. All you need is a little bit of burnt sienna on the brush. I like that. That's sort of drizzled down there, the green reflection. I'm just trying to miss the little, it's supposed to be clean water on here, so let's make it a bit brighter. I'm only using a smallish brush. So just clean water, a little bit of, while it's wet, we can slowly drizzle in some burnt sienna. More, it's nearly a question of more water than paint, just for make it really light. Now, one of the notes I put on the website, one of the things that colors the other color, so that is burnt sienna, make a mental note of that, it'll be on the video anyway. The other color that I use, and I'm more likely to be my first point, is you can get it in a tube, it's just flesh. It's just, the color is just flesh. Use that. Works really well. This is that here in my palette. This is flesh, and you can slowly tease some of that on. I'm conscious of not putting too much of anything over here because that island or headland has drizzled itself into the background. So all you've got to do is, because it's, again, it's, the paper's nice and damp. Well, it's pretty wet actually. Just add that. The other color that's nice, if you want proprietary color, is the dune. Dune as in D-U-N-E, sand, dune. My accent probably doesn't pronounce it properly. That is an equal, that is like sand. It's a very frustrating. A lot of places they use raw sienna. It's not. The times I used to walk over Hengistbury Head with the kids, they were my props to take pictures of them Sunday morning. They hated it because you couldn't photograph other people's children and put them in a picture. You get shouted at. So I used to make them walk all over their head, all over the beach, and take photos of them. And one of the things I used to notice quite often, especially on bright sunnyish mornings, what colour is the sand? It was white. The sun was reflecting, you know, it's just white. There was no colour. So any colour you put in is down to you, really. So what I will say, I'm sort of not cheating, and I am cheating because I've shown you the three basic ways that I would do it. If given the choice, I would use the flesh and the sand, the dune colour, which is a very, very pale grey colour. Well, it's a colour of sand, isn't it? But if you're stuck, and for get-go, just use raw burnt sienna, but very light. I mean, the predominant, I'm adding little bits of these sort of proprietary colours in now, but don't need to. The raw sienna works fine. Still some up here. If you add a little bit of blue to it, cerulean blue, or the blue that you used on the sky, you'll get a dune colour anyway. There you go. that was it. Burnt sienna and cerulean blue gives us this June colour, which takes me back to what I was saying a week ago or a while back. You only need 3 colours, red, blue and yellow, because all these other fancy colours are made out of that in different proportions. One of the things I'm gonna, it's really nice and damp now. I don't know what it looks like from months. It's trouble when you sit down and do it. Oh, it's not too bad. Yeah, okay. That colour I just mixed up with the cerulean and burnt sienna gives it a lovely sand effect. So I keep shooting myself in the foot every time I say something or I go out and spend money on something. The next day or the next week, I'll be sat here thinking, well, I can't find that tube. Oh, just mix my own. And you do. The island, the headland bit, I'm just using the same sandy mix that I just mixed up, just dabbing in a few bits on just to make it look like there's some rocks at the bottom. Probably better with a rigger there. Where was it? Out there. Okay. As it's drying, it'll run back to form some sort of distant shapes. I don't mind it running down a bit into the sand at the base because it looks quite nice. Huh? There you go. Easy, wasn't it? Now the next thing, I think I might just quickly just give it a blast with a hairdryer. Excuse any noise.
That looks lovely.
I just used the brush while the hairdryer was going to lift a little area off there. Seemed to, I don't know why, it just looked like it needed it. That's when you become an artist, you make decisions and say, this is what we need. I've got white paint. Last week's video, wasn't it? Every time I picked up the palette, I got a thumb full of white paint and it's still there. Shows I haven't changed anything. Our next exciting part is the figures. So I'm gonna have to think here. I did print out, which is gone AWOL. No, I think it's over here. Yeah, I did print out a large area of the figures that were there. Looks all right, doesn't it? I still think they look a bit top heavy, stumpy. So I'm just gonna go for what I feel comfortable with. Very often I'll use the fleshed, that's yellow. Gone a bit mad with the yellow there. Just need a really dark, fleshy brown colour. But trouble is the figures are going to be so small in this. The scale is going to be ridiculous. So I'm not quite sure how to handle this. the other color I use occasionally for darks, as everyone knows, is burnt umber and blue. Well, I haven't got any ultramarine blue, but I have got the cerulean, so it's local. So I'll just test it on there. It's fairly dark. Might be a good idea just to do a quick one on here. So let's think carrots. Yeah. Carrots with not little blobs on. I think my problem I've got is the scale is so small, and I like the fact that they're in distance. The dog, it's just two fine lines with a little head bit on it, a bit like that, a bit like a tuning fork upside down. And if you can, that's not far off it, I don't think. Let me try it anyway. Recharge the brush. Now, where do you want them? That's why I was going to say, Carol, where are you? Where do you want these figures? They need to be off center.
Right of centre, I would say.
Yeah, that is exactly what I was thinking.
Good.
Shall I do it?
Yeah, go for
Go for it.
it.
Anyway. So I'm oh, went too thick. That's okay. I dried it off too. That'll do. Don't put any more there. It's got a little bobble on the side, which is nice. And then the smaller figure. The paper's damp. That's my problem, even though I dried it. So here's a heads up. Make sure your paper is really dry before you tackle it. But think carrots. Oh, that's not too bad. And get a small brush, a rigger. What I normally do is run it, I'll load it and then run a line along the side like that, just so that I can see if I'm getting a really fine line. Trouble is that
So you're left-handed.
horrible when you're watching people paint that aren't that do that. I watch videos or YouTube from the male galleries occasionally. Well, when they come up, people like Roger Della and really quality established artists, and some of them are flipping right-handed, and I'm watching it. And I think I don't like this. It feels weird. Yeah, tell me about
I
it.
think the fact that you put the dog on the left side, because I always have leads on the right with the right hand.
I did it deliberately because I thought it looked the gap was too narrow. I
Yeah.
wanted it to be a bit longer, and the only other thing you got to do is put a few divots on for some reflections. Really, what I would do, I'm loath to do it right this minute, but I will, because I don't care if I make a mistake. I love it because, well, in a funny way, it's good because it means anyone watching the video say, well, that's wrong, so they don't do it. So I've done my job, or part of it. I'm just going to add a little bit of, just a hint. This brush is a bit damp. A little bit of red into the figure at the top. If you do that, or a bit of warmth, even if it's one's red and a hint of yellow or even green on the other one, a bit like that. You can see instantly the figures, even though they're faint, where are we? They suddenly, they give them depth. They stand out more. So, and the other thing that's important is doing that gives you the brilliant opportunity, and you must take it, to warm a picture up. Gordon will be watching this. Saying, yeah, he's on about raw sienna, burnt sienna again. Burnt sienna is sort of a warm color that you can warm a picture up, especially if it feels cold, too blue, you know, all this sort of malarkey. Just add a little bit of burnt sienna on the figures. You don't need a lot of it, just on one area, and the whole thing will change. When it's dry, I'll be able to I'll turn it upside down. I'll have a go, but I'm not too confident it will do it right now. Get a clean handy Andy. Remember those? They don't call them handy Andys now. It's trademark, isn't it? They're just pocket tissues. They used to be handy Andys when I was a kid. What you can do when it's dry, the horizon line, I've just dabbed my hand in some navy yellow. You can just lay clean water on there and just lay the tissue on top, and it will lift it off fairly straight. It's better than it was, but it's better when it's bone dry, because then you'll just take off the bit that's just gives it a little bit of a finer line. And the other alternative is to use a bit of I'll do that, but I don't need to. Just a little bit of white gouache. Just add it in, especially on the bottom. My preferred way is to get one of these craft knife, snap-on blades, or a scalpel, and then where the horizon is, where the sea meets the beach, just scratch out a few highlights. I ain't going to do it on here because it'll ruin it, because it's so wet. What do you think, Chrissy? Is that too bad?
Lovely. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this in acrylic. I'm going to have wash down paint.
The other thing that I nearly always like to do on these things is get an old painting that you sort of think, oh, that ain't no good, don't want that anymore, and well, turn it over and use it as a doodah. Cover the sky. You made a good job of that sky. You don't want to wreck it. What you can do is use a bit of tissue, a few bits of tissue rolled up. Oh, come on. A bit too thick, that is. I was just thinking where I put those reflections in the water. Well, there's a little hint of blue here and there. And then use your toothbrush. I thought the dog had that one. It's been sawn off. Why would I saw off a toothbrush? Obviously, mad moment. And I've got a palette here with rubbish in, just from like weeks, but you can just, I usually like to have a little bit of burnt sienna, so it's a red. Fortunately, I've got loads of it on the side of the and then just fizzle. But I'm using the top sheet. I'm not that brave, just to take any and give you a chance to practice that you've got the right colour. Burnt sienna is a nice colour to use. You get to clean up your mess. Just dab it off on the bit of tissue, flick it on there. If you're lucky, the one that you're flicking becomes a nice piece of artwork on itself. Piece of contemporary art, or you can add to it. One of the things I do tend to do when I've done that bit of spattering, that was on my finger, so I've got a seagull arrived now. It looks like a gull now. I'm always saying, if you see a seagull, a herring gull in one of my pictures, there's a mistake, and the herring gull is covering it up. But if you just lightly, whichever way you want a reflection to be, you can do it that way and come towards you if you feel that the sun's over there, and just tease it, just and that'll just, those spatters will then have a little reflection on them. Otherwise, you've got to spend 4 months with a rigger diligently adding little dark blobs to the edge of each.
Dave, you look like you've got, is it a bit of tissue or paint in the sky?
Yeah, tissue. Don't scare me like that.
Well, I was worried about it.
This one here, there's a little blob there. It actually looks in the shape of a herring gull. I'm not brave enough. I'm not going to do it. But on another day, it's just the way that it's shaped. But I'm just going to lift it off with clean water on the brush, tissue in my hand, and that. Now, while I'm here, I've still got little bits of shadowy tone there, so I'm just going to add some shadow into the blue watery bits. Well, it's a reflection of the sky, but where you will get sort of, did it not, when the sand, when the sea goes out, it goes out in like waves, doesn't it, like that, and it forms little shadows. Especially, you'll especially get it where there's an edge, you know, where the water meets and things like that. So it's a good idea to, you can do that in acrylics, just dilute it a bit.
Yeah.
Just find a few, just on your rigger, just put in a few little shadowy bits, and where the figures are, you can do it as well. Just to make them stand out a bit. The problem is that has consequences, because if you put a shadow right there, then you can't just leave it, because that focus, everything will go to them. So you need to put another line of shadow going away from them. Not so worried about that. Yeah, quite pleased how this turned out. Actually, I think I said in my email that I have no plans for this picture, apart from the reference image that I saw, and I thought, yeah, that looks like one of mine anyway. But
It's not bad for 15 minutes.
it's been longer than 15, hasn't it? I lied. I reneged on my argument. That's my word for today, reneged.
Reneged.
Funny, isn't it? Yeah. But yeah, it's only a simple watercolor. I think I could do that in 15 minutes. I like the figure because when it's the one on the right, it's got like a little bit poking over, and it looks like, I think at some point as it dries, I'll get some burnt umber and ultramarine mixed together, which is the color that I use for darks mostly, and get a really thin brush and just stick a little I'll have to use my other reading glasses. Just put a little really dark bit that looks like his hair, and it'll stand out, because now it looks like he's bent over, his head's bent, talking to the person next to him, which I find quite fascinating. Well, if you can, how many times have I said it? If you, the picture you're painting, even though if it's just a dead simple sky, sand, you know, headland, has to try and get it to tell us some sort of story. There has to be something going on, you know.
Yeah.
And
I
to
always-
me, that is like, hello there, or you know, they're having a
I always
quiet,
want something alive in a picture.
a peaceful moment. I mean, very often on these, I'm doing it now to a degree, but it's much less a degree because I don't want the headland to come too far forwards. And this is one of the exercises that I was talking about earlier that involves the things you make eggs with, omelets with, was when we talk about, or when these proper artists that know what they're talking about, talk about values, and they write books about it, and that's part of that subject is all to do with colors and the values that the color will have, pushing it forwards and back. I mean, if you make it dark, even though it's or a darker tone of the same tone, in other words, if you had a scale, a grey scale of a color, which was darkest it could be would be 5, which would be as it is out of the palette. And as you graded it with water and balanced it across, shaded it, it would go from 5 to 0. Or 0 would be just clean water practically, but the shades in between. But those values, so 5 would bring it right towards you, but 1 would take it as far back as it could go because it's lighter. That is the crucial, that's really important. I keep saying over the years, I keep saying it, not really knowing what I meant, but a little bit of thought. Well, you don't, do you? You just say, look, if you make it darker, it'll come towards you. You know, it'll come up close. If you lighter, it'll go away. But I think the key things today are keep the sky colors to a minimum. Don't put too much in there. You can make most of what you need from those 3 colors: the blue, raw sienna, well, Naples yellow, stroke raw sienna, and the rose madder, Alzira, and crimson. You can use multiple blues. I'm not, you know, I think that's good, because if you look at the sky, sometimes it's one bit will be a really interest, you know, the light blue and dark, you know, it has that dramatic feel to it. But the other things, the other 2 colors, stick with them. And the other one was, if you can, come in from the diagonals. Even if you're using the acrylic, make it bloody wet. Oops, bad word, swearing. If you make it really wet and then let it flow, the acrylics will do it. Alternatively,
Yes.
of course, the other thing about when using acrylics, I've said this a million times, is you paint it white first. Keep the white hydrated, because the white dries slower than the other colors.
Yeah, I
Weird
always paint it white
yeah,
on canvas.
I think well, in acrylics, because they contract when they dry, leaving those pinholes, having that base of white on first, or within the process as you're doing big areas like that, don't know if it help.
Yeah. You don't get the pin so much.
Definitely. It drives you mad.
Mm.
You do a sky and you think that is good. Wow, I'm really chuffed with that sky. And you come back in the morning, it's got full of little pinholes. Well, not, I mean, they're not blatantly everywhere, but you'll see them and you think, oh, the canvas is coming through. And you think, it can't be. I put about half inch of paint on there. But it's not. It's because as the water disappears, it drives by evaporation, doesn't it? The plastic paint that's left dries and it does contract. What was the other side? Skylight. Yeah, that's still soaking wet, that paper. I went a bit what we could do with that, just for a laugh. Well, just for not a laugh really, just an experiment, is I've got this big load of St. Petersburg paints, and one of the colours, hang on, put it over, one of the colours there is raw sienna. Yeah. So what I'm going to do, because I don't mind about it, if it goes apples and pears, London, Cockney slang, if it goes up apples and pears, right?
Apples and pears.
Yeah. Yeah. If it goes Alton Towers, we're in the. But what we can do with raw sienna, just because I've mentioned it, I'm using the mop brush and just put a glaze of raw sienna because it's looked a bit stark, because it is like it outside, but it's damp enough or dry enough now. I can put quite a lot of raw sienna on it, and it'll warm your sky up. So you can almost, when that dries back, hey, that's worth a £5 just to learn that. Well, no, I think what I'm really saying is, you might think all is lost, but it isn't. Raw sienna on the beach, there I can put a wash of that only because it's in the sky. So now it'll look nice there. So hang on, I'll just put that by. Oh, well, I'm still going to add a bit of burnt sienna on the brush. See what that does. But that'll give it a nice bit of warmth. So those are the sort of the sandy colors, but this color here, this is the flesh that I've just put on there while it's damp, and I'll just let that, the whole thing changes as soon as I put that on.
Does.
That'll dry back quite nice, that I think. And then I'll add 2 more figures and the island. Yeah, it's giving it a bit more of a glow because the sky outside that I'm looking straight out the window is pretty bleak. It's a dull grey. So I always say it affects your paintings. Hence the reason me and Turner, my mate, we always do our skies the night before and then go out and paint. People used to say, well, how come you do that then? I said, well, it's obvious, isn't it? I ain't going to go outside and paint al fresco when it's pouring with rain and it's a horrible, miserable day. I want to go out with my little deck chair, my sandwiches and my flask and sit there and paint on a nice sunny day. So the problem is, well, there's 2 sides to that. The other side is you don't. You can equally go out and paint outside when it is a dull, cloudy day because you've already done the sky, and it'll have lots of variations of the thing. Oh, that's not bad. I'll have to get some new mounts, but otherwise, I used to joke that you only go out when it's a lovely blue sunny day, so all your skies would just be blue. And it's not like that. You need some drama and movement in them if you can get it. still really damp. But I think we've achieved something there.
Very effective, Dave.
It's only small. It's not a big picture. It's sort of A3,
A3, okay.
maybe a bit more. Half quarter. I've got a ruler. What's A3? That's A3. Yeah, so it's just a bit bigger than A3.
Have you been painting along, Sienna?
At this event, it was like the SAA. Do you know SAA? Like, I don't know. They were just doing some demos, and then
Yeah.
gosh, amazing how just a blank page, they've transformed it in half an hour. And then there's also a charity supporting a hospice whereby they go to the hospice and get the patients to paint. So
Yeah.
they gave me and my daughter a stencil, and things to draw on. I thought, oh, this was quite fun. So I started sketching and actually I started painting from there, but then I haven't done any painting in the last 5 years. And then just a month ago, a couple of months ago, I started going to the park and sketching a lot, drawing and sketching. I thought I'm going to go back into painting again.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I've done some watercolors, but now at the moment I'm doing more acrylics. And my favorite paintings are impressionist paintings.
Oh, right.
So I like
Brilliant.
and I love the sea and the sky and gardens and flowers and water and nature, that kind of thing. But again, like Dave and some of you mentioned about giving story to the picture. So I was thinking of a photograph I took when I went to Dorset last month. There's a picture, I was trying to take a picture of Durdle Door from the distance, and then I saw these ships in the distance, and I thought it's just water and sky and cliffs, but I see these 3 ships in the distance.
Oh,
and
yes, the big cruise liners, weren't
yeah, and I thought, okay, that makes a story to it. So
they? Yeah.
I'm going to try and draw that at some point.
Oh, that'll be interesting to see.
I like taking photographs and then flowers and then try them out with acrylics. So
Yeah, oh, good.
So it's good to find, Dave's workshop and, when I saw the lands, the sky. And Turner, a month ago, I also went to this place in Watford called Castlebury Park, which used to be owned by the Earl of Essex or the Duke of Essex. And he commissioned Turner to do a lot of the paintings of the grounds. So there was a castle there, but it's no longer there. But in a lot of landscapes around the park, Turner did. So I got Turner for a day.
Yeah, very nice.
Used to live in Watford.
Used to live in Watford. Oh,
Yeah, I know Castlebury Park, like the back of my hand.
Park, yeah, it's
On the
lovely.
Narrow.
They've got a nice river there as well, with children, paddling on the river.
Where you got Grand Union Canal goes through the top.
Exactly, yeah.
I used to take all the students from Watford College out on a narrowboat into Little Venice.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That was great fun.
Yeah, Little Venice.
Amazing, that was.
Yeah. Robert Browning was associated with Little Venice, yeah. He actually named it Little Venice, Robert Browning, the poet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pied Piper of Hamelin.
Yeah. But canals, I looked up a picture of the towpath. So, like, I'd like to paint the canal. I like to paint the river.
We did one a few weeks back.
Yeah.
Narrowboat. If you look on the YouTube channel, there's one there.
Which YouTube channel is that?
My one.
What's it called?
Oh, don't worry. When this is finished,
Yeah.
probably tomorrow lunchtime, tomorrow afternoon, I'll send you a link to this video, which I'll publish on the YouTube channel, and you'll be able to see them all.
Oh, okay, good.
You'll have great fun.
Excellent. I really enjoyed this session, and I learned a lot about the diagonal painting. The way you mentioned the sky doing the diagonal. And
I think the main thing is just fun, really. The emphasis is not on, everyone's going to do it different anyway, so it doesn't matter how you, but if you can sort of set some guidelines or some points, and like I did today, you know, I looked at the picture and thought, well, those are the colors that are really important to me, you know, they're going to be used. Otherwise, the tendency is start off with a bit of this, bit of blue, and then in the end you've got color everywhere. And in watercolors you'll end up with mud. Everyone says, well, my watercolors always go muddy. Well, that's because you keep adding color layers on layers on layers on layers. And that happens in acrylic as well, because they're not as opaque people think they are. A number of times you hear people say, oh, if I muck it up, it doesn't matter, I just paint over it. And I'm thinking, well, I painted in acrylics for years and I never been able to paint over the top of it. You always end up something
You can see it.
comes through. You can't cover it, even if you make a total mess of the canvas and you try to paint it with white acrylic to cover it up to start again, it's still there. You've got, it takes, it's not opaque. It's not like
I do, when I paint over acrylics, I sandpaper it first. The old picture, I sand as much off as I can. And then
I've just started, so yeah, so I knew all that.
Oh well, it'll be interesting to see how you progress.
Well, the fun is that learning bit is the part of the fun. And when you look back at the earlier pictures or the one you did 3 months ago, and you think, oh,
I found that with a lot of with the sketching and drawing, like what I drew 2 months ago is very different from what I draw now. So you know, you can see the more details now, whereas 2 months ago, there wasn't that much detail. And
I think what I always say about drawing things are there are only so many shapes that you can possibly draw. If you got a circle, an oval, a triangle, a square, there aren't that many, you know, sort of a square, a wonky square, a wonky triangle. So what you do is you don't draw what you don't draw what you're looking at. You draw the shapes that form the thing that you're looking at. And then the thing will appear. It's really clever. And once you get I can't draw. Can you draw a square? Right, there's a square. Now if you take that bit off that square and put a triangle on it, but make the triangle go there and then put a little, oh, I've got a house. Yeah, you have. But that's a simplistic way of looking at it, but it is true.
It's like when I went to Regent's Park, I wanted to draw this willow tree. Gosh, how do I draw this willow tree? And I just got it complete. Actually, I'm just going to do a lot of squiggles, and that was fine in the end. A shape and then some squiggles in the inside.
I suppose the most important things.
Sorry, I was just going to say, Shanaz, where's your home country?
So I was born here and I was, you know, grew up here. But at some point, like from the age of 10 to 14 and 2 to 7, my parents took us to Bangladesh. So
Lovely. Do you ever go back?
Last time I went was 8 years ago. A short visit.
I'm just interested to see where everybody comes from.
Well, I went to Burnham on Sea once. Is there anywhere near there?
Dave, it's nearly 20 to 1, so I'm going to go.
Yes, I'm going to go as well. So
Yeah,
lovely
very
chat.
good. Thank
I'm
you.
starving.
So
Lunchtime.
what's the plan next week? What are you planning to do next week?
Next week, it's going back into portrait.
Right.
What I tried to do, Shanaz, is do something different every other week, like a landscape, seascape, castle. But every other week, if I can, we'll do a portrait.
Okay.
because you learn a lot in portraits.
Yeah, yeah,
They're great fun. Hard?
yeah. They're a bit too hard for me.
Nah, they're not. You can do it.
Yay.
And next week it's, well, you don't have to. You can do a cartoon. It doesn't matter. But next week it's David Jason from Del Boy, isn't it?
Yeah, I saw on the website. Yeah.
The one I've got coming up in the pipeline is Lawrence of Arabia.
Ooh.
Oh,
That's going to be fun.
yeah.
Me too.
Did Omar Sharif a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I saw those. Yeah.
It's not about the subject person anyway. It's about how you approach doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't think we've ever done it the same twice, but I keep thumping myself saying there has to be a routine. There has to be a workflow
Yeah.
that starts you off, that gives the ping, the portrait or the subject you're doing meaning, depth and body, and you're happy with it. And then you can add the other, the finite details, add bits to it. That's the goal with the portraits.
Yeah.
But I must admit, I've spent 20 years avoiding doing portraits. In the last year or so we've been doing them, I prefer doing portraits now. Well, no, I don't prefer it. I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different challenge, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It is, yeah.
I'm flipping apprehensive. Today, I mean, doing a landscape or seascape, well, I should be able to achieve something with that by this stage of me art life cycle. But the portraits, I don't know, it's like, but we're getting there. There is a routine to it, and I must admit, at the moment, the focus or the inclination, the direction seems to be painting a portrait in watercolors, using the same methodology as you would in acrylic or oils. Whereas normally in watercolors, it's light colors first and then gradually build up the dark. The last color you use is the dark to put it in. Whereas in portraits and watercolors, we tend to be establishing the triangles, the squares which form the eyes, that form the shadow by the nose and the lips and all this. We're doing that first, which is painting the darker or the shadow areas and then building them up afterwards, which is the opposite to what we should be doing. But I have noticed through doing that, starting to do it in normal water landscapes and that. I think it's quite a nice journey, really. It's sort of changing the rules and sort of, throwing some of the arguments out the window and getting much better pictures from it.
That's what art's all about. Right,
Yeah.
I've
I'll
got to
send
go.
you
I've got to go, Dave.
I'll
My
send you an
battery
email.
power is gone, so it's running out. So I just told me it's very, very low. So I'm going to say goodbye. See you next
Take
week.
care.
Bye, Chris.
Bye.
I'm going to
Bye.
go, but I'll send you a video anyway, a link and some notes anyway.
Great. Thank you so much.
And what I will do is I'll send you my PayPal address.
Yeah.
So if you want to come again,
Yeah.
you don't have to go for a ticket,
Yeah, sure.
because they charge, and then it'll just cost a £5.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, great. That'll be great. Yeah. So yeah.
It's not about the money, it's about the camaraderie. Me and friends. Getting your tea go cold.
See you next time.
Sorry.
Yeah, bye, Joyce. Yeah,
Bye.
bye.
Take care.
Sienna.
Thanks, Dave.
Bye.
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 Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Dave.
Girls,
Bye.
ladies.
Thank you, Dave.
Bye.
Bye. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.